And that's because I had a straightener with a fellow outside. I said, listen, you took a liberty, let's have a straightener. I had a straightener with him, the police come and chased me. I would have got nicked for that. But I thought, I ain't done nothing wrong. I've just had a straightener with a fellow who took a liberty. And because he's lying on the floor, they look at me and think I'm the perpetrator. No, I just bashed him up. But he was a boxer himself. Anyway, I had to climb over the roof and down the roof, and I got away. But that was it, Chico's.
You got a question from Mark. Kevin was really looking forward to Kenny Noye making an appearance. Do you think the authorities will ever allow him to do an event?
Never. He's hated. Let's have it right. He's killed a police officer who was running around his grounds with a balaclava on. 2 of them, if not more. What would you go in your garden with if you had a luxurious house, you had money, and you got 2 geezers with balaclavas running around? If I had a gun, I'd go out there with a gun. The law is in most countries, you have to defend yourself with whatever someone's attacking you with. So if they're attacking you with a dustbin lid, you can hit them with a dustbin lid. It's a stupid law. But let's face it, nobody goes out in their garden in the pitch black in the middle of nowhere with a toothbrush. So I feel it's very Kenny is really, really targeted. And the gentleman that he killed, let's have that right. When the gentleman got out of his car on this second murder, the gentleman said to his girlfriend, "He's only an old cunt, don't worry about him," and walked towards Kenny as if he was going to give him a good hiding. I'm sorry about the swearing there. I apologise for that. But that's what he said. And Kenny stabbed him in the little...
There's always two sides or even more to the story. So you got a question here. Saw Mr. Legg spar with Big Paul Venice. Anything coming up with any big names sparring, Matt?
Yeah, me.
Who was that from, Shaun? Yeah, me and Kevin sparred as well.
Lee Marvin, Hitchman.
Oh, Lee. How you doing, Lee?
Manchester.
How you doing, Lee? Yeah, me and Kevin have sparred before. Sparred with Paul Venice, Jack Draper, and Danny Christie. But we have got an event coming up. Manny Clark spoke to me today. We've got an event coming up later on in the year, which Kevin will be there. I think Tony Argent might be there. It's going to be ex-professional boxers having a little move around, a little spar, and some other guests from the criminal world might be there as well. It'd be quite a big event planned for later on in the year. So we will be doing more sparring. Yeah, definitely. Cheers, Lee.
Matt, you've forgotten to mention we'll be sparring with a world champion.
Me what?
You know who that is? We'll be sparring with Mr. Nelson, the world champion.
Oh, you're sparring with you're sparring Johnny Nelson.
Yeah, I've got 2 rounds of Johnny Nelson.
Doing it as well?
I don't know because I think Johnny only wants to spar with 2. He heard what's coming on. Listen, that man will be jumping around. I won't even be able to hit him. Let's get it right. I think he only wants to do 4 rounds. And it'll be me with Marcus Lufus, I believe, from Gogglebox.
That's all right. I'm happy to watch.
You. Fuck me. If you hit him, you'll then take off to Jupiter. No, just for the record. Just for the record, Matty, when he hit the punch balls at the fairs, he breaks them. He absolutely breaks them. And he was barred from the fairs from hitting them. So bear that in mind, folks. And he's hit me before and all, so I should know.
Yeah, I've been in the same room as Matt, and he's a very large and powerful individual, but an absolute gentleman. So a question from Greg Jackson.
You reckon it's about that big?
Kev, was it hard to readjust after your long stretch? That's from Greg.
No, what I found really difficult was Bluetooth, memorable information, sat-nav, and stuff like that. I had no idea about it, and it took me years and years. And the internet, it's like you've been taken out of your country, stuck in a new country, learn the language straight away. You can't do it. Very difficult.
So we've got a question for both of you. It's from Sharon Scott. What are your thoughts on YouTuber fighters and misfit boxing?
Kev, do you want to go first?
I haven't got one. I don't know much. I don't know much about it. Matt, it's better to talk on this.
I think they've brought in a lot of disrespectful behaviour. People like KSI, Jake Paul. I just find them very disrespectful. And don't get me wrong, there's some good fighters. Jake Paul's quite a good fighter now. they get big money. They generate a lot of money, so it's going to keep on going because where there's money, it will carry on. But I just think they're quite disrespectful. KSI was
just
go on.
Sorry, mate. Carry on.
That's all right. No, go on, Kev.
Can I just say that, I think 40 or maybe 50 years ago, there was 40,000 professional boxers in this country. There's around about 1,500 now, maybe 2,000. There wasn't that many 3 years ago. So the unlicensed fighting and such has taken off to such a degree, the professionals of the game, you can get people who do a streamlined fight and they would get 80,000 views at £5 a head. Do the maths. And you'll get a professional boxer who's trained 6 months or 4 months for a fight and get a few £1,000. And they're professionals, the elite of the sport. That's where I think it becomes a little bit unfair. Why do people want to see the gruesome, twosome stuff instead of the professionals at work who are they're professionals and artists at their sport? So I feel a little bit differential to that, of course. But other than that, I don't know anything more about it.
Viewers, if you've just joined us, I've got Matt Legg and Kevin Lane. We're doing an event February 23rd out of Cambridge. It's going to be an exclusive venue we've not announced yet, but tickets are on Eventbrite. There's a link in the description box below this video if you want to come along. And it's also going to have Kenny Collins there as well, who caused one of the biggest fines in the history of organized crime in this country. Millions and millions he was ordered to pay back. All right, so comment here from Greg.
Can I just add to that? Kenny Collins, he has to pay £1,500 a day interest on his fine a day. And let's have it right. The fine was split between, there was £7 million Kenny's got to pay back, or whatever it is. That fine should have been distributed between all of the offenders, not each person. So then they've got back more than what was stolen in the first instance anyway. And that's obviously wrong. And he's never going to be able to pay that £1,500, the interest back alone, if you work that out over a year.
That's insane. So if he makes money or anything, do they just confiscate that?
I pay for everything for him, pretty much. He goes to work in a yard in the day in the freezing cold, at 83 years of age to get a living, okay? And he doesn't even get a living. He sits out in the cold cleaning cars and stuff like that. I give him money when I get money. And when I do get a few quid, I'm giving him my credit card. Go on, fuck off around the world.
We've got a comment from Greg. It says, give a big love to my bro, Matty and Kev. I'm here with my old mum. She sends love. She wants to see you, Matt and Kev, one day. She'd love to meet you too, my B.
That's our mate, Greg. That's Greg, Kev, who came over the other week.
Yeah, bless his mum. I've sent a few messages to him and Greg. Lovely.
Oh, lovely.
Nice fella.
How you doing, Greg? Give my love to Kathy and your mum and to Jim. And I'll see you all soon.
Shaun wants to ask Kev, where's his hooch?
So the hooch is going in production. I'm now represented by a company called E-Commerce Group Limited. They're worldwide. They look after 3 international governments, media and such. And they will be putting my hooch into production and launching it. And you'll be getting it on Amazon Prime and so on and so forth. A bit like KSI. So it ain't going to be too long before that's on the line. But I must give you a warning here now. When you get pissed on that, don't be saying you've been lured into a false sense of security by some damsel in distress, because my hooch won't cover you for that.
Strong stuff.
Or vice versa, should I say.
Question from Joe. Who's the hardest boxer you've ever boxed, Matt?
Thank you, Joe. The hardest boxer I've ever boxed was definitely, without a doubt, James Toney. James Toney's had over 90 professional fights, never been knocked out. A lot of fights at world level. He's won the title at middleweight, light heavyweight, cruiserweight, heavyweight. He knocked out Evander Holyfield. He can never be knocked out. I've spoken to professionals and they said nobody will ever knock him out. He was technically the most gifted as well. The hardest puncher was Anthony Joshua, without a doubt. He broke my eye socket. And the most awkward was Tyson Fury that I sparred with. I could barely, you can barely set yourself to throw a punch at him. He moves that well. Back in the old days, this was. But yeah, them 3 were the best in different ways.
Question from Shaun for Matt. Would you fight YouTubers?
It sounds a bit hypocritical, but if the money was right, I'd do it. Yeah.
They're making millions, aren't they, Jake
They're
Paul?
making millions. I probably would. Yeah, if there's money in it. I mean, what was his name? Tommy Fury's done it, and yeah, I probably would.
Right. All right. Over to Kevin then. Have you got any prison stories you can tease the viewers with?
Well, I remember talking about Tony Argent a minute, and this is just off the cuff, okay? And there was a big screw called Richie, and he was a right nice screw. I don't care what anyone says. He never nicked anybody. He used to compete in bodybuilding. He was the softest spoken giant you could sort of imagine, okay? Real nice fella, Richie, by the way, if you're watching this. Proper gentleman. And he was going out to the surgery, right? And Tony's at the bars on the wing. And he was going out to the back of the surgery where Tony worked as the laundry man. And he goes to me, Kevin, he goes, what's that screw's name? I went, Wally. He's going, oi, Wally! Oi, Wally! And he goes to me, Tony, that screw's ignoring me. So that's a little story. I started to have a laugh, right? And that Richie's looked at him and think, he's calling me a Wally. No wonder he didn't answer him. So, look, there's lots of stories for prison, and you'll hear them on the 23rd of February next month at the Cambridge Country Club in Bourne. I've named it. There we go. It's palatial, so you come into a beautiful place. Have a look at it online, and you'll see what I'm saying. But some other stories I've got. Let me just tell you about the prison service. I brought the prison service to the negotiating table, and they released me. They never wanted to release me. On my file, it said, Lane will be released when he's very old or dead. There we go. So my conviction is going to be challenged, like I say, this year, and hopefully squashed, which I believe it will be, based on a number of factors that can't be argued. And then I'll have a lot to say. My book, Fitted Up and Fighting Back, which is available on Amazon. I've got no books left to give away or sell, so you have to get it from Amazon. There's been no black order on that. Read the book, and that tells you quite a bit. But in terms of prison, I'm writing a new book with e-commerce, and I'll be doing that in March, and that'll be for release. And that'll be quite a lot about the prison service, my release upon prison, the troubles I've had, and the people I've had to have run-ins with, and people that have absolutely abused their position against me when I'm a convicted contract killer. So I'm on life license, and they just abuse that and lie. But in terms of prison, I've got a lot to say about that, and it'll be coming out in the future. I might even talk about a few screws I've kissed. But I haven't actually. I only kissed one screw like that. I don't want to go into that sort of detail because I've never done none of that. I did push one screw. Like to lean in a cupboard down the church. She was serving out the tea. There was no cameras in this little cupboard. It was like a cloakroom. I leant in, give her a little kiss. And then back out, right? And there was this bloke reading the paper, a mate of mine, right? Wayne Doyle, who's dead now, God rest his soul. I don't believe in God, but God rest him, okay, whoever's listening. And he's reading the paper and he went, don't read the paper. That's the first. I haven't told many people that story.
Kevin, I've got two questions about what you just said, the early bit. When you get a notification saying you're not going to get released either until you're very old or dead, firstly, how old were you when you got that? And what went through your head? So
how old when I got released or how old when I went to prison?
No, when you got notified that you weren't going to get released till you were very old or dead?
It was about 2010. No, in 2016, I got told by a screw who said, I don't know what you've done to get released, he said, but on your file, it's a security governor. He said, on your file, he said, you are not to be released, you're very old and dead. I went, yeah, I'm going home now, see you later. I think told him where to go. But then in 2010, I got a letter from the Home Office and said, I will remain in prison indefinitely unless I admit my guilt and do the offender behaving courses. I went back to my letter and wrote my letter. Respectfully, as if to say, listen, I ain't suffering what you say about your letters. Clear off. And I will keep. So John Scott was my trainer at Bushy ABC. He had Bob Williams, a fighting fireman, Carlos Chase, and a few other people, Matthew Tate, Dave Walker, and et cetera, et cetera. And he said, keep throwing them punches, Kev. And he said, hopefully one will land eventually. And I have to work off that method. I send 100 letters out, one will land. And that's how I worked. I thought, I'm not having your bollocks. I'm going to keep fighting. And that's what I did, kept fighting. And it's the only form of releasing stress.
Wow.
As well as training and getting drunk.
Yeah.
Huge, which will be on sale soon.
Got a question from Mr. Tommy Guns. Great guests. These two are good people. Question for Matt. Did James Toney try any particular old school sneaky tricks on you?
No, not in the actual ring, but what he did beforehand, he was a bit of a diva towards Sky Sports and towards the other boxers. He kept himself away from us all because it was America versus Britain in prize fight, and we all stayed in a hotel together. We actually had dinner with the Americans the night before we fought them all. But James Toney kept himself away. So we thought he was a bit of a diva, and he stormed off a couple of times, but he was just doing it for show, because after the fight, he was actually the loveliest bloke in the world. He came up to Milton Keynes actually 2 days later, signed the glove for me, and he goes, Matt Legg, and give me a big cuddle. But he did a few little mind games before the fight, but during the actual fight, no. And I underestimated his power because he went light in the first couple of rounds. He sort of did a couple of little tip-tap shots. And in the last round, he caught me right on the chin with a big right. And it rocked me for a second, but the ref stopped. I thought the ref stopped it prematurely. I only had probably about half a round to go. But no, he was a nice, very, very nice fella. It was an honour to get in the ring with him.
You got another one here from Asking for Truth. Who is the hardest fighter you have ever fought? Bare knuckle?
With me?
Yeah.
Bare knuckle. No one in a one-on-one, because not many people did a one-on-one with me. It was normally like a gang of them. But the hardest fight I had was a 5 doorman in Iron Napa. And they were giving it, so they pushed me out. And I said to them, come outside and fight me, all 5. And they didn't come out. They jumped out of a side door. CS gassed me with this gel. And then they hit me with koshes all over the legs, on the head. And that was the hardest fight, because I had to fight back with gas in my face and getting koshed. And when the gas cleared, I managed to start getting a little foothold, and they gassed me again straight in the face. That was one of the toughest. That was the last day of my holiday as well. I was flying home about 4 hours later. So I had to fly home like all busted up. But yeah, not really any one-on-ones, because it would normally be more than one person attacking me.
And viewers, check out our podcast with Matt for more stories of his fights. Kevin, what was the hardest fight you've ever had?
Well, do you know what? You couldn't make that up. So can you see that?
Yep.
Unbelievable. I've just pulled that up and you've asked me that question. That's out now. It came out tonight. So that wasn't the hardest fight I've ever had, but it's one of them. And Matt was talking about the gas there. I went to the Paradise Club in Islington. I had a rave myself with Judge Jules, Danny Ramplin and Roy the Roach, etc., etc. In a yard I had an aircraft hangar. It was called Large Nissan Hutch. You get a juggernaut in there. And I had another connecting buildings to it. So I had a rave there, packed. I went to the Paradise Club after, and my friend Sid McFarland and Lee and Keith Corky and a few other people worked the door there with another security firm. So I've gone straight in, they've let me in, but the other firm didn't know me. I'm sitting down in the cafe bar with Paul Cox and we're having coffee, and after the rave, weren't counting the money was elsewhere. And some doorman come up to me and he said, give us your drugs. And I said, listen, mate, I've got no drugs. I've just come from my own rave. You've got the wrong. And he started arguing. So I stood up. I've gone, right, let's carry this on outside. Respect for the doorman. And he threw a punch at me. It's gone off. The old doorman had come in. Cut a long story short, he got split up. My mate Sid come in and he's gone, Kevin, what's going on? I said, you see this right here? They took a liberty of me. Pulled the CS gas out. I said, you better go, Sid, because it's going off now. And I sprayed it running into them. They all piled in. It went off again. And they got me outside, right? And I was coughing and spluttering, but so were they. So I've gone, right. I said, I'll have you. Geezer come